like I promised, I want us to delve deeper into some of the issues to do with this political environment right now and all the dates that are being thrown around with regard to the repeat presidential election. Joining me in studio right now from my extreme right is Peter Kaluma, Honorable Member for Oma Bay Town. Thank you very much for joining us. We also have Jeremiah Kioni, who is the Member of Parliament elected for Ndaragwa constituency. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. So it's going to be a crucial week for IEBC, even for the Supreme Court. I want us to just start by getting a comment, Peter, with regard to what your expectation is about this full Supreme Court ruling that we'll be getting tomorrow.
Betty, the judgment of what we are calling ruling was already delivered. What we are waiting for are the reasons for the decision. But the decision was already made. And then the verdict invalidated, the elections. People are waiting for the reasons. But as somebody who sat throughout the Supreme Court as one of the lawyers for NASA, I can tell you there is nothing much new to expect tomorrow, other than elaborating those principles, the basis upon which the elections were nullified. If you remember, before the determination by the Supreme Court was made, there was an order made following our application by the Supreme Court, which required a scrutiny of all the statutory forms used in the elections and deposited in court, which required access to the server and an interrogation of the ICT system or the technology system applied in the elections. There is a document which particularly the media has not had occasion to expose to the people of Kenya. These are the two reports of the Registrar of the Supreme Court relating to the manner of application of technology, the ICT report, and then there is the report on, the forms 34As, 34Bs.
Yes.
I can tell you, if you look at those two reports, there is nothing much you'd be waiting for. They were
Really?
so bad, so indicting. I've had people saying Chebukati ought to get answers from Chiloba.
Yes.
But people do not know that Chebukati was picking those few questions, he was racing with Chiloba as milder versions of the report by the registrar.
Okay.
So those two reports.
A bombshell, is that what you're saying?
Not a bombshell. The bombshell is already in the reports. And my wish is that the media ought to have exposed it, because you see, the report of the registrar is already a document of court. Yeah, but we are expecting the Supreme Court to tell us how many people entered the server, and it will shock you, because the Supreme Court will now be, loading over onto their reasons those reports of the registrar. You'll be shocked at the number of strangers who entered the IEBC server and manipulated results.
Well, we have to wait, don't we, to just see if that indeed is going to be the,
yes, but
the result.
It is already there. We'll give it to you.
All right. Jubilee Party has been very adamant that, the nullification of the presidential election needed not to have been done. And just looking at this delivery that we're expecting tomorrow, what would you expect, especially from the Jubilee Party? You've contested that ruling that was made by the Supreme Court.
Listening to Peter Mheshimiwa, I get the feeling that he already knows quite a bit of what we are expecting. So unlike them, we are expecting to hear a lot. He already knows the documents that are supposed to be given to us. They already know the number of times all these things. I don't know how he got. I don't know how he got.
I was a lawyer in the matter, so I have better knowledge than him. It's understandable.
And I don't understand how he would even be able to know the kind of judgment that is likely, or the reasonings, the reasons that will be adduced or given by the judges. But let's leave that. I don't think there is much that we are expecting, because the judgment was delivered. What we are preparing for is elections on the 17th. One of the things that I would really want to hear from the judges is, why is it now that they say there was a problem with transmission and there were people who may have hacked? Again, we have been told there were no hackers and all those things that were said. Why is it that we never went back to count the vote? which is what Wajiko wanted. Wajiko voted. He was not concerned with all these other processes and transmissions and the rest. Why is it that the court did not find it necessary to establish the will of the people by opening the ballot and getting it counted in the fashion or in the manner that they thought was better than what was done? And every other, because judgments are not just meant to be somewhere up in the air. They're meant to address and satisfy the ordinary mwananchi that what they desired, what they intended to happen, happened. So it will be a very simple thing, not the very many things that have been said. Why is it that the judges never found it necessary to get the ballots opened and counting done afresh in the full glare of everybody?
Right.
Why is it that vote that was cast before it was entered into forms that eventually became the contentious and altered by whoever altered them? Or even before they were fed into the servers that seems to have been hacked by people who are now and everything else.
All right.
Why is it that we never got to count?
And I'd like you to answer that, Peter, because you seem like you're so privy to, information that, us ordinary Kenyans don't have. Do you think we'll get that reason? Because it's a question that has been raised quite a number of times. Why wasn't there a simple recount of that vote that I went and cast?
Two reasons. It takes a party before a court of law to apply for orders like recount. Jubilee is lamenting about recount, but they never applied for it. We made an application for scrutiny. And let me tell you, that scrutiny includes recount. But you remember when the IEBC advocate, Paul Mwite, said we have nothing to hide, everything can be scrutinized. It took Ngatia, the advocate for Jubilee, and President Uhuru Kenyatta back. And in fact, Ngatia applied for adjournment to get instructions on whether there could be scrutiny, including ballot recount, ordered by the court. And when he came back, you remember how vehemently the lawyer for President Uhuru Kenyatta, Fred Ngatia, opposed, the total idea of scrutiny, including, going into the ballot papers. So they are just forgetting, but they are the ones who resisted, the full scrutiny. Number two, let me say that we need to be serious when we are talking about matter selection. What recount of what ballot papers would we be talking about when you see ballot boxes still in hotels in Kisii, when you see them floating all over Nairobi? What ballot papers? What the Supreme Court was saying in its determination is that the election has been so badly mismanaged that it is illegal. These illegalities include the fact that the materials which were used in the elections are not available to a large extent. These are the things, I was speaking to.
All right.
Yes, and they're already covered in those reports by the Registrar of the Supreme Court, which was signed by the agent of President Uhuru and the agent of Raila as a petitioner in the matter.
All right. Yeah. So we'll wait for tomorrow. That's when we'll get to understand the reasoning behind that nullification. But just coming to the election date, because the company that was charged to deliver the technology actually has come out to say that we cannot deliver this technology by 17th. Let's push the date to 26th. First of all, as Jubilee has been very adamant that they are ready for the October 17th election. How did you receive the news that actually it's possible that we might not have the elections on October 17th?
Just allow me to go back a little bit on just what Mheshimiwa said and say this. The court found it within itself the need to allow more than what NASA had asked for. And even using evidence that was obtained outside the time the court has given to help
that
it.
Is not true.
Allow me to finish. To help it arrive at a decision that they did. And the question that we ask ourselves is, why then did they even find it necessary to order a recount of the ballot so that it would have helped them arrive at that final decision? Because everything else that is said, and we are trying to avoid being technical here, what you do, what is it that you want when you go to cast your ballot? You want to know that my ballot has been counted and it has helped in determining who is the eventual winner. These other all processes are facilitative. And if there is a problem with the facilitation and the administrative issues, that's not my problem. I want to know, did you count my ballot? Is the person I voted for the winner or the loser? But when you now complicate it by making it so technical with many things, including things that Kenyans cannot quite understand, you're just creating fear, suspicion, doubt, and it is very difficult to tell people going forward that you can be able to win their confidence in the things that we're saying.
But remember
and I want to say this, that when you saw, and I was not party to this thing, I am a lawyer, but we didn't even want to get near it, because it was not in our business to get and muddle it up like even just the courtrooms. But when you saw the lawyer for Uhuru wanting to know what is the position of IEBC, why have they taken that position? I mean, it just confirms to you that there was no collusion between the two.
Oh, there was very tight collusion.
Then why is it that you get concerned that he had to consult?
Okay.
It is only normal, it is only mature for the lawyer to consult his client. But if they had to work together, then there would not have been any collusion. It's just evidence that there's a lot of talk that has kept us busy for the last almost 20 days, and really nothing new coming out.
All right.
Going forward on this issue of the date.
But maybe he could react to that.
I don't think I said anything he is not aware of, anything he needs to react to.
You see, the aspersion that my learned friend keeps, speaking to is that we could have manipulated the judicial system. And I think that is not fair. When you go to court, orders are applied for. I mean, nothing stopped Ngatia. And Ngatia is a very senior lawyer, one of the best we have in the country, from applying for scrutiny of the ballot papers. The situation we had, Jeremiah, and I wish you took time to sit in court. By the way, it is so bad. The reasons by the court, in my view, should now digest to Kenyans why they said there were illegalities and irregularities. And I would not be surprised if among these illegalities we are talking about are issues like, the fake results. I've heard his side saying that the president won by 1.5 million. What is this genuine result which can be transmitted on the basis of fake documents? What happened, Jeremiah, is that the people of Kenya went to vote, and we've never had a problem with that. But after voting, somebody predetermined the results to give Raila and Uhuru, and were working on them backwards, changing the papers. And you may not have taken time, but that really is the nature of evidence we put before court, largely through Tiendi Amolo. It was an evaluation.
If you put a comma there.
Yes, it was an evaluation.
Just put a comma there, Peter,
it was an evaluation.
If you can just finish that.
It was an evaluation of what Form 34 was given to all agents at the polling stations, what was deposited by the court in terms of that form in the Supreme Court according to the law, and what was later in the portal. You get a variation of hundreds and hundreds of votes across, and that is what Otiende was doing. What I'm saying in short is that let us not reach a situation, more so as lawyers, where we are castigating or undermining the decision of a court before we have their full reasons. The full reasons will synthesize it for Kenyans, what actually transpired. But I tell you, as a lawyer who sat in court, it is so bad, it is so bad if you took your time to read the report of the registrar, you would not defend the idea that you keep saying you won.
And of course we won. But I wanted you to take it all the way back. You've just taken it to the point where what was entered into the forms is what we looked at. Why is it that we never went to that first step of where was the ballot casting? That is, just allow. Because that is...
said here, Jeremiah, and let us not complicate it. I will not repeat myself. If you go to Kisii County, and by the way, we live in a country which is very public and open, the media, most of social media, has it all over us. Didn't you see at some hotel all those ballot boxes with ballot papers of IEBC? In Nairobi, how many did you see, or have you seen being kicked around?
Why is it then that we never still went to count the ballot so that we could have found those anomalies in the ballot? Because why did we stop somewhere?
But he's saying that the system with the ballot could have been
the
infiltrated
was already produced.
Yes, but why if there were irregularities around the filling of the forms, and you think there were also irregularities around the casting of the ballot, why didn't we expose it all?
The casting of the ballot had no problem. And I can tell you
if there was no problem in the casting of the ballot,
Jeremiah,
let's count the ballot.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
We have to move
Let
forward.
me tell you. The kind of evidence we put in court, and if you remember, we had how many video
By the way,
about 28.
Karuma, Peter,
in those video recordings, among the other things we did to court was to explain to court that even in terms of security of documents, which is a legal requirement, these documents have been tampered with. They are not there.
And in fact, what
Finally,
we know and what happened, and we were seeing it live, is that there was no evidence that was put in court by the petitioner. It is actually the court that went to look for that evidence through the audit system or the audit thing that was saying. And I have no problem with that. And I'm not saying that you manipulated the judiciary. No. What I'm saying is the judiciary did not go far enough. They should have gone all the way to the point of counting the ballots.
How would they go when you are resisting that?
We didn't resist.
Your lawyer refused.
We did not resist.
Okay.
And in any case, it was still, if they found it within themselves that it was necessary for them to order an audit outside the time,
Jeremiah, I agree
which was
allotted
to
the
you,
extent that
why
you're
is
saying,
it then?
to the extent that you're saying that your lawyers did not serve you right. But that really is your problem, not our problem.
Served us very well. And what we want to see even from this judgment is the reason why the ballots were not counted, which is what you are resisting.
You will get them.
You have resisted the counting of ballots from day one. And that is what is the most important thing. Because the will of the people is determined by when a person goes and casts his ballot. That's it. All these other processes, you can mess them up if you wish.
Jeremiah,
but let my will be known from the point.
Are you still insisting President Uhuru won this election?
Of course I do.
On
those fake results.
And they are not fake. In any case, if they are fake, you're also fake.
Okay. We have to move on, gentlemen. And I had asked you about the election date and Jubilee's reaction to the fact that even the technology might not be ready at that time.
Jubilee reaction or?
Jubilee has been adamant that they're comfortable with 17th October as the date, but this company that's supposed to supply the technology has said they're maybe not ready for that date.
You know, if you go back a bit, why is it that we had an issue with the suggestion that there is need for another date? IBC is the team that was mandated to have a date for elections within the 60 days, and they gave us. We took the 17 and said we will prepare for the 17. NASA comes and says, why don't we push it to another date? Children will not die, even if elections are held at a later date. And I think the issue is that we were never, as Jubilee, we were never out there to determine the date of elections. We were there to do as directed by the same court that nullified the elections that we believe we won. And we were unhappy with that judgment. And now we have an issue where even NASA doesn't have an issue with that date. And they want to dictate the date or to determine or to be consulted when the date is being fixed. And these really are the things you wonder. Where is it that NASA eventually wants us to go? What is it that they really want? And I think we know we can conclude only one thing. They are not ready for an election. And the reasons why they are not ready for elections are all over there. We already know. There are certain one is, again, they don't want people to cast the ballot again. The same ballot that they were fearful of being counted. They don't want Kenyans to go back and cast that ballot. Because the outcome will be the same. Even worse this time. And
Peter, this is something that has been made by Jubilee, that NASA actually does not want this election to happen.
How I wish I listened to my interview in Citizen yesterday. We were with the majority leader. And Jeremiah was saying we want nusu mkate. And I think I went on record saying any nusu mkate arrangement that will make Uhuru, my president in a party, I will resign from parliament and I will just leave it away. Jubilee represents everything we don't want and everything we would not want to associate with, even in a transitional, arrangement. Let us stop this propaganda. And by the way, Jeremiah, I like it when you are a lawyer, not when we play politics. Let us stop this propaganda that NASA does not want elections. If there is a party the NASA team is sure of beating any day, it is Jubilee. And let me tell you, I've watched Kionian and his brothers going around saying they were campaigning. The campaign ended before August 8th. We explained our manifestos, respective manifestos. People took their positions. What we are focused on as NASA now are ensuring that, the problems that, put us where we are, are not repeated. And so when we were saying that, why are you choosing 17th of October? We had no problem with 17th of October, other than the fact that we didn't believe IEBC by that time, or by that time they were settling on the date, had really, considered seriously the full ramifications of the decisions and the type of consultations and preparations they needed to undertake.
Right.
Let me tell you. They are now saying that, Saffron itself is proposing an earlier date.
Yes, a later date.
As NASA, even the idea that Saffron can, provide the technology for these elections is untenable. Because, as I was telling you, it is already in the report of the Registrar of the Supreme Court that this is a technology system that was so insecure that strangers, including Chirchir, entered over 2,000, times and manipulated results. You saw the chair of IEBC speaking to the CEO of IEBC, telling him, how did you create a password in my name and enable access into the system and manipulation of results over 9,900 times? You see, how secure is that system? And this is important for us. It is expensive for the country. It is expensive for parties to go for elections, which are then bungled because of a wrong technology applied. So beyond, the mere fact that Saffron itself has issues, we have issues. Remember, they are very, agreeable to Al Ghurair, which printed fake materials, the basis upon which these presidential elections were nullified, doing it again. But we are asking, why hasn't Al Ghurair come up to explain to the country where the original contractual forms which had specified security features, went to? I mean, where did they go to? And when you so easily still say Al Ghurair print again, are we going to have fake forms instead of genuine, forms relaying the will of the people expressed in the polling stations, which are they crying about? And for how long will we be nullifying elections to have these repeats? These are things we have to be cagey about. So as we are saying, that really, with goodwill, and Jeremiah, I want to ask you, because you are a sober head on the Jubilee side. We are not up to delaying elections beyond 60 days. The Constitution is very clear. Whether or not the Supreme Court emphasized it, the Constitution already says if you are conducting a fresh elections, it must be 60 days from... Within 60 days. Within 60 days. That within 60 days to me is enough period with goodwill from both sides, the co-stakeholders being Jubilee and NASA, to agree on the systems we can, as a bare minimum, agree to. And have the elections go forward.
All right. Jeremiah,
one of their campaign
NASA has quite a number of demands. Do you think that they are tenable, given even that 60 days window? They want the CEO out, they want Al Ghurair out, they want Saffron out, they want some commissioners, some staff of the IBC to leave and vacate office. What do you think about the demands that they've made so far, and also considering the time that we have?
One of the campaign strategies of NASA is also to keep us in these press conferences talking about things that cannot be achieved. And whenever you have been listening to my friend here, Peter, and for that long, wanting to hear what is new that he is going to tell me this morning. And this is exactly what they have said for the last 18 days, I think. And the demands that they have placed before, it cannot be before Jubilee, it can only be before IBC. The question is, and you ask yourself, are these things attainable within the 60 days? Are we able to send home all the commissioners and get them replaced within 60 days? Are we able to...
We have not demanded that.
Or are we able to reconstitute the commission by sending some home and bringing... When we say so and so must go, there must be a good reason for it.
Yes.
There are conditions that must be achieved within the Constitution.
Yes.
For why we should send so and so home and leave the other one.
Yes.
And then we have to do flesh retendering. We have, all the things that you hear them asking, they just answer to the same question. These guys are not prepared for an election. They are now saying, we are making a mistake going out in the countryside campaigning. Them, they want to do it in Nairobi, but at the same time, they have a pay bill number saying, help us do the campaign. And you can...
You don't know the purpose.
I don't know the purpose, but I can guess it. I can guess it from where we are, is that you're looking for funds to do that, which is okay. You can try and fundraise, but maybe fundraising from people using a pay bill is a little bit, again, a big question mark. But it is your style. We have no problem with it if you can get that support. But let me... These conditions that are being placed there are ridiculous. And at best, they are just meant to get us into a crisis. And when you are in a crisis that NASA would want us to get in, for what other reason other than for looking for a way to get into the government through the back door? So this Nusumukate thing may irritate you a lot, but it's clear in the minds of many Kenyans that it is the only way you can get anywhere near. And why is it that we cannot just go and allow the people to vote again in the simplest way possible?
Even if the process was questioned by the
And we are
Supreme
even
Court?
do away with this process that they will continue complicating until Kenyans cannot get out of it. And I'm telling you, again and again, the easiest thing is people are casting their ballots there. Bring your agents. Let's count there.
All right. Peter, NASA's demands,
Let
are they
me tell
tenable?
you something about NASA's demands. By the way, it would be very easy. If you look at the reason as to why the presidential elections were nullified, Jeremiah, you should join us. Because you are sure your president had won. He even celebrated. You see him crying after that because of a determination that there was a problem with the elections. Actually, it should be Jubilee championing these reforms, or bare minimum reforms we are talking about. The elections collapsed because of 3 reasons. One, it was the application of technology. And that is why we've said
Again,
all
you're back
Kenyans
to the same
went
thing.
out and voted. I can tell you. And that is why we are not opposed even to the counting of ballots. If those ballots existed, here is a case I'm telling you, they don't exist, and we gave evidence to that effect. But
how is it that the presidential ballot did not exist, but for the member of parliament it existed, for MC it existed, and the voting was within the same polling station?
All right, we have to take a break.
This is hypocritical.
And
I don't think we
it
can
should be very basic for you.
Packaging
We have to
lies.
take a break. We have to take a break. Let
You
him just
cannot do
finish
that.
his point and then we'll take a break.
Jeremiah cannot use words like lies when debating me. I think that one you
it's
should
packaging
withdraw.
of lies.
All right,
The thing
let's
is,
just listen to what he has to say.
You know, Betty, this is the thing. When you do an MC election or a member of parliament's election, remember those people are down there with the agents. Uhuru and Raila cannot be across central Kenya, Nyanza, and everywhere.
But isn't that the
But
reason
we
you
need-
have party
you believe we had
agents?
agents? We have no complaints. We have no complaints about our agents in Kisumu. We are happy with what they did in Kisumu.
And you saw what happened in court.
And even
Let me tell
everywhere.
you.
Why is it that
Okay,
you
just-
do?
They are so happy. The all results for Nyando constituency, which has over 65,000 votes, were never tallied in the presidential tally. You must be very happy. You are very happy because in Kisumu itself, Uhuru Kenyatta beat Raila in so many polling stations because of
In
change
Kisumu.
results. Yes.
In
All right,
Kisumu.
You never watched the Supreme Court proceedings.
We have to